let him roll. Oh, let him roll. Bet he's gone to Dallas, rest his soul. Just let him roll. Oh, let him roll. Yeah, he always said that heaven was just a Dallas whore.
Man, what do you think about when you think about Guy's lyrics? It's nobody like Guy, right? Lyrics.
Yeah. When I think about Guy's lyrics, I think about, to me, my favorite songwriter, the guy that painted the best portrait with words that we may have ever had. And he's the person for me that I just, there's very few people that I look at and go, man, I will never, ever attain that. I will never, ever be that good. He just had a presence about him. His presence was in his songs. He was the kind of person that when he walked in the room, he took it over without trying. He just had this presence about him that just was amazing and intense and unlike anybody else I've ever been around. And he took that intensity into his lyrics and into his songs. And when you listen to the songs, you know that, especially after I got to know him in my career, I was very lucky to write with him and record with him. And as I got to know him better, you realize that he really, really took the time and the effort as a songwriter to not just settle for a lyric because it sounded pretty or because it was worth a damn. He wanted to make sure that it was the appropriate word, phrasing, whatever it may be for that song. And I think that's what made him so great. Is I don't think people talk enough about how hard he worked at that to become a great songwriter, and how much he tried to make anybody around him that was in the room with him, that got to write with him or play shows with him, he was always willing to, probably more than people wanted, he was always willing to give his advice and tell them when they were not acting or writing as they should. And so his brutal honesty that he brought to the table was unmatched, and I think that's what will always make him Guy Clark in everybody's mind that knows him. I know that he lived in Nashville, but I think his heart was always in Texas. I think he lived there to make a living and make ends meet. You know, that's what he told me. I said, "Do you ever think about moving back?" And he said, "Whenever he breaks even." I mean, that's just his humor, you know. And it's like, I think in my mind, he's the prime shining example of Texas in every sense of the word. He had the strength and the cowboy in him. But the poetry. I think there's always been a lot of great poets that become songwriters. I have always particularly loved the fact that he was such a great poet, but also had great melodies to go with it. And maybe not necessarily the greatest voice you ever heard, but he was just so unique in the fact that he could come up with a melody that would fit the poet side, the poetry side. And you can take his songs out and read them down without anything, and you will, you could tear up. You could bring a room to tears by a lot of his lyrics. But I love the melodies he created, and I love the way he presented them with his songs. And he had this when he was young, and on the old number one, he had this great, like, carefree, who gives a shit attitude when he sang on that record. There's all the the boo baloo and all that stuff where he's just like, who cares what it sounds like? I'm just having fun. And then as he got older, I think some of my favorite vocal performances of him were when he was older and didn't have as much of a voice, and he had this deep, dark presence about his voice that would just, demanded you to listen. It had something to it that was really cool and unique, and he adjusted and adapted to his career. And I was trying to figure out, I'm very, very bad at math, but I think he was in his early 30s when he recorded the old number one. I want to say like 33, something like that, 35, something like that. It was in 1975, I believe, when they recorded old number one. And then that was my favorite Guy Clark record. My second favorite Guy Clark record was Dublin Blues, which was recorded in 2000, or released in 2005, something like that, 2002. So a 30-year span, to make a long story short. A 30-year span, I think as an artist, that was inspiring to me when I thought about it when he passed, because I would give anything to have that, my favorite record of his and my second favorite record, or 1A and 1B, to be 30 years apart and still be that great. And he had great records even after that. But it's just, it shows what brilliance he really had in him, and what an amazing songwriter he was, and the way he carried that entertainment value still into his records, and still made great records, and still was able to go and perform with a bad hip and knees and everything. He still went out there and did it because he loved it, and was still great at it, and still had people that wanted to hear. And I think as an artist and as a songwriter, we all want to be that good for that long. Hell, we all want to be good for 5 years, much less for 60 years. It's pretty amazing.